Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't we have a Happy New Year?
What were you doing? Looking at your phone, Crunch?
Happy New Year.
Come on, dude.
He's got a new girl.
Yeah, Crunch has a new girl. He's paid it.
I don't have a new girl.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Under the bus.
What's up?
Power and Speed, we are.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
By the way.
Do your shtick.
We're Power and Speed, 908-751-0211. Give us a call. And Tad?
Like us on Facebook and iTunes, maybe.
Very good, Tad.
Good job.
Is that your New Year's resolution to not fuck that up every week?
Nah, I'll forget it.
Because that was actually no prodding, no nothing you got. I was just looking at you to say, okay, here we go again.
That Apple thing.
We have huge guests tonight. It's crazy.
Massive.
How did we get Dale Earnhardt Jr. to be on our show?
We did. Well, you gave him you sent him a scarf, didn't you?
Did I made that up?
Yeah. You know, we could get into the scarf thing at some point, but
hey, it's 24 degrees out. I'm wearing a scarf.
Sissy. The fuck? Lord. This goes right. You know, this could be the other question, like we're getting your fingernails done and all that other shit. Like, how many of our Power and Speed listeners wear scarves? But, you know, it's okay.
way more than get their nails done.
Okay, you're probably right about that. Fair point. Fair point.
Oh, man.
I got to ask, it's a cheesy radio thing. Does anybody have any New Year's resolutions that they made?
I don't, but I heard you're going to try to be less of an asshole this year.
No.
Good luck with that.
Wow.
It's not working.
Yeah,
Low blow.
Yeah.
Crunch, anything?
Actually, I just made a resolution not to tell anyone what my resolutions were.
Nice. Good call.
Right. Because people get tired of you telling them, and it's year after year. So this time, I'm just going to implement them in my life and keep it to myself.
And let me guess, Tad.
Yes.
You're going to vow to eat more.
Eat more Roy Rogers as soon as it opens.
I can't. I would love to get into how disturbing it is to go somewhere with you to get food. Because it's just not normal, dude.
I was lucky enough to get the play-by-play.
A play-by-play?
On the phone, yeah.
It's just not normal.
When you went back up, he was like, all right, he just went back up.
Well, you got to go for seconds. You'll be a pig if you do it all at once.
Nobody goes for seconds at any fast food restaurant.
It's when I do the thirds is when it starts getting dangerous.
Wow. Where are they building the Roy Rogers?
Right on
around
31.
the corner.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be 6:45. Where's Tad? Roy Rogers.
Yeah.
That's where he's going to be. We're going to have to go drag him out of
wait,
there or roll him.
We are having a Chick-fil-A within like a half mile or a mile of it, so it'll be a toss-up.
It's always food. Cars and food.
Cars and food.
No. It's food and cars. Sorry.
So tonight, we're going to have Howard.
He had a lost episode.
The lost episode. And,
so in case anybody missed it, all of our thousands and thousands of listeners, we did this, Mike's going to do a Corvette. It's going to make a zillion horsepower. It's going to be an 8-second street car. And Howard from Redline Motorsports in Florida is going to assist with the build. And we did a really good show. It was really funny. And Mike fucked it all up.
Well, in fairness,
I know you did.
I didn't fuck it up.
In fairness.
But the worst thing, I came in here, I turned everything on. We're talking, we're screwing around, just getting ready.
Like usual.
I look over at the fucking board and like half the shit's not lit up that should be.
Yep.
And I'm like,
this is tonight.
This is tonight. This is like 3 minutes before we were supposed to start. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
And literally 3 minutes. It was 57. Yep.
So I had to pull from backup and everything, but I think we got everything working and people are listening.
Mike's sweating. He's like, "Oh my god, we're gonna hammer Howard again."
Yeah,
he's never gonna talk to us again.
Yeah, I might as well, forget it.
Yeah,
because it would have been really bad.
But we need Howard though.
We do need Howard, and I thought, a little further about some of the questions that I want to ask. So I got a little more time, obviously between the screw up and now to where we can figure out the direction I want some of the stuff to go.
Yeah.
Specifically, I'm right back to the transmission thing.
Yep.
But I got to ask him because I wouldn't mind a 4L80, but you look at other stuff and it's not nice.
Well, first off, since we're doing this and it's a lost episode, start off and tell the listeners what you plan to do with this Corvette and what year it is and what you want out of it.
All right. It's
yellow.
It's yellow.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Pretty car though.
2001. So it's a C5.
Yep.
So it doesn't have a big tire in it to begin with.
All right.
I've always said that I wouldn't mind buying a kit car if it could be real nice.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like have all creature comforts, have everything work the way it's supposed to. You know, I don't want to, sound like a real prick, but like power windows, dumb basic shit, but then go a little further than that. And I don't want to hear Tad just zip it, because I know the minute that I say something, you're going to be like, well, you can buy an Alpine. Shut up. I want integrated like a factory. Like if the car had steering wheel controls, I want it. I want everything to be just nice. Because for the most part, car manufacturers put a lot of time and effort to make something good.
They do.
Like the new Camaro. They did a great job, right? So I kind of wanted something extremely fast. I want a supercar without spending 500 or
500,000.
Yeah, or 250 or 260 like the green McLaren I really want.
And you actually have two yellow Corvettes sitting side by side. One is a newer one is an older one. So
yes.
You figure you take the one that was an older one that's just sitting.
One's a donor.
And you want to make it a supercar as best as you can.
That other one hasn't moved. The idea is I was going to buy the new one.
Right.
And, to clarify for everybody listening, no Corvette socks, no Corvette shoelaces, I'm not that guy. But I didn't want to put a ton of miles on it because, I drive my shit. I like the black Corvette I had, the 98, that thing, I broke it. It was my fault. It was low on oil because it used oil pretty bad. And I took an off-ramp off 287 that I loved. Loved it. And it's a long, increasing radius off-ramp, so you're just rolling in the throttle as you're going through. And I looked down, and a fucking oil pressure gauge said 0. I'm like, fuck. And I'm listening. I was like, it's okay. I look down at the oil temperature. It's like 260. And I'm like, fuck. That was it. Gone.
Yep.
Right.
But I bought the 2001 yellow one. That was a 98. I bought the 2001 one in probably 2004, 5, 6, somewhere around there. And then decided, you know what?
That was before he was rich.
Yeah. Wealthy. Loaded.
Donald
Trump and I are buddies. We share a helicopter.
Yeah.
Come on.
We were talking about helicopters before.
We were. That's why I brought it up.
Me and Mike were talking about, we're going to buy a helicopter. He's like, well, we got to buy 2. I'm like, why do we need 2? He's like, well, what if I want to go somewhere and you want to go somewhere at the same time? What, are we going to fight over it? I'm like, all right, we'll get 2. Christ.
Only car guys.
We really had that conversation today. I'm not even kidding.
I believe you.
It was because of the Powerball is so high.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess anybody's got a shot at it, but I'll never win shit.
If you hit it, you can have 2 helicopters.
I wasn't sure if you could do it nice.
Oh, okay.
Let's go back to the car stuff.
So you thought helicopters cost like $20 million or something.
Holy smokes.
They don't. They're not. You can get a nice one for like 1.2. We could afford 2 of them. We'll get 2.
If we win that thing, yeah.
Well, if we win it, we could buy 4.
Great. Who's getting the pilot's license?
You're going to be the butler.
Are you going to dispatch him to everywhere?
Yeah, I will dispatch him. I'll make him get on the helicopter and fly to New Jersey to bring back Roy Rogers. That'll make him happy.
Okay. I got no problem with that.
He would actually like that.
Yeah.
So I spent the time trying to figure out, well, let's go a little further forward. So then I bought the 427 Corvette. And the idea of keeping the 2001 one was so I didn't put a ton of miles on it because I drive a lot and I like to drive. It's not uncommon for me to be, bored at night or just want to think. So get in a car and make like a lap. Like go all the way all over the place, like onto the highway, a blast, then turn around and blast back the other way in the highway and then backtrack home. So a lot of times that could be like 120 miles a night, just thinking or bored or screwing around.
Somewhere in there, there's at least 2 stops for Diet Coke.
Yeah.
No, they're closed by then because the running around thing, if I feel the urge, is usually like, 1 o'clock in the morning.
He's strange.
Yeah. But it's like, when you got, do you drive to think or do you just sit at home and fucking soak your head in something?
I usually get a mani and a petty.
With the scarf still on?
Well, I
can
relate to dropping the top in the summertime and just hit
I thought he was going to say I can relate to the mani and the petty.
I just, the BMW just drop the top, 80, 90, hit the highway, just soothes you.
Well, see, that's the thing.
As a car guy.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
I drive and I think.
Yeah, I do too.
If I got something on my mind, I tend to drive.
Right.
So the idea of keeping the other yellow one was to keep miles off the other one. But you know what happens? When you want to drive to think, you want to drive something fun to think.
Yeah.
So the other
one,
one,
want to drive the nice one.
The other one never really made it out of the garage. And I don't think I've driven it more than twice since I got the new one.
Right.
And the new one, I'm sorry, is kind of a colossal piece of shit. I'm really not happy about it. I mean, a lot of hard feelings with that thing. It's been
Right. And the listeners, the loyal listeners, know the whole story. They know.
Yeah, that's a 427. So it is. They made 2,500 of them or some shit. So it probably is worth keeping nicer, than probably a normal. We made 5 million of them Corvettes.
Yep.
And a person who I will not name, even though it's my New Year's resolution not to abuse people as much anymore, but this dork that I know constantly wanted me to fuck with that one, but I can't bring myself to do that. So the 2001 car is going to be the starting point.
Who's the dork?
I don't even want to mention his name.
Fudd?
He spoke the words.
Alan?
Don't even say it, dude.
He is. Well,
He said the name.
When you say dork, he really is the first one that comes to mind.
Pops into your mind.
Yeah,
See that head?
Yeah. Like, you're such a chore.
So
Inside joke.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out where to go with this, looking, Tom said, you got to look at Howard's stuff. He's got a twin turbocharged C6 that goes into 7s. I was like, man, could we get something to go in the 8s on the street? And Tom laughed at me. Like, yeah, it's not hard.
Not hard at all.
No.
In Tom's mind.
Yeah. So, we made a game plan with talking with Howard, kind of where we were going to go with the motor and the other stuff in there. But it still was kind of cloudy and unclear as far as where we should be.
He's listening?
No. These you guys still have man cards, don't you? Or you turned them in?
Who said that?
Somebody took a jab at us?
Joe Dysinger?
Oh, Dysinger, yeah.
Better not have been Tanner. Look, I'll make it very clear. No scarves, no manicures or pedicures. There ain't nothing fruity about.
What's wrong with a scarf anyway? When you get dapper, you put a scarf on. That's
All right, we got to stop.
He's coming to a fucking.
I don't have a scarf on.
He's coming to a podcast, dude. I could see if you had to go for like some kind of, I don't know, like.
Well, you have to cover your neck up in this kind of weather. You'd be sick. So,
no.
Some kind of way. You have to zip up all the way to your chin. Something.
When it gets real cold, this is what I'll be wearing. Flannel.
There's always a good time to look good. Just remember that. All right?
Well,
but
time is
never a bad time.
Time is the man.
If you look at all of us, it ain't real hard to rise above. You know what I'm saying? A scarf is really an unnecessary accessory.
No, sorry.
But if it makes you feel special, hey.
It does.
Have at it.
You see the vehicle he drives outside?
Oh, yeah. With the small disc brakes.
That's a dapper truck there.
I'm gonna
with little brakes.
Yeah. Not for long. All right.
All right. Well, Howard is actually on here. So let's grab him. Hey, Howard, you there?
Yo, what's happening?
Hey, buddy. We will not lose this one. I promise. We already had a technical malfunction when we turned to mixing. I was like, I can't believe this, dude. But everything's good.
We got like 90 backups too, so there's no way we're gonna. Never mind. I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
So how come every time I call in, you guys are just talking about like the weirdest shit?
Because we're weird.
It's usually how it starts out. Well, last week Crunch was before the show started. He's like, "Yeah, I get my fingernails polished," and I'm like,
"Not
what?
Polished? I get them done, and they put a clear on."
We cannot hold back there.
A clear of what?
Howard, how are you? Happy New Year.
You guys should bring Barry Maguire in, and you guys can talk about all the different products you can use.
There we go.
Nails with podcast.
Well, Howard's a comedian too. Huh?
Yes, he is.
Howard, I just and if you do, I'll be quiet. I promise. But you don't currently wear any nail polish, do you?
No, I don't. I've never been involved with that kind of activity.
Have you ever gotten a manicure, Howard?
No comment.
Oh, see,
that's not what he asked me.
Right. But that's two different.
Sometimes you got to take one for the team once in a while.
Yeah.
You can't make a habit out of it.
Okay. See, look, we got celebrity Howard. He won't tell the truth. Okay.
I mean, we sell testosterone over here, not lipstick.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well played. Well played.
This is what happens when you get too much time off for the holidays.
Yeah.
Yep.
True indeed.
Disaster.
So, Howard, before we get into my whole project, what do you got going on? Anything new? Anything exciting? I saw that you're doing more with the direct injection stuff since the last time we talked.
Yeah, well, GM keeps dumping more stuff in our lap. I mean, we just we got our hands on a 2016 CTSV that we just baselined this morning, and it's now in the bay for surgery. We got a new Camaro here that we've got some interesting products that we're putting together. Tom's been helping us out with some internal guts. I mean, those are, the new Camaro is really kind of like setting the tone for the next wave of car fun. I think everybody's kind of like rolled over from the C7 being out and the Z06. I mean, that'll always continue being fun, but right now the Camaro is going to be hot and the new CTSV is going to be hot.
Okay.
All over it.
How good is the CTSV? Can you say?
Awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but it's really, I mean, obviously after every model of vehicle, the next year is usually, the next run is better. I mean, the older CTSV was amazing. So you can just imagine with all the integration, with all the technology and the interior fitment. And I mean, the one we got here has got a $99,000 window sticker on it.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, it's serious. It's fast. It's luxury. It's got all the bells and whistles, lights. It's a pretty serious car.
I think the other problem with that particular car, unless I'm wrong, is it also on that nice sticker that says 90. I think it also says like highway mileage of like 17 and like city of like 13 or 14. Yeah. It ain't good.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Yeah, I mean it's it's better than it was and you got to realize it's a 640 horsepower car. They're obviously meeting some standards, but I think they also pound you in the ass with the gas guzzler tax on that thing too.
Yeah,
a couple grand.
Yeah, that gets
whatever
you
that's worth.
So have they opened up any more programming avenues with the direct injection stuff, or?
I mean, they keep adding more stuff for us to get into. I mean, 16 kind of we take a step backwards because the software guys have to go back and redevelop all the parameters so we have access again. You'd think that you'd roll from 15 to 16 and 17. It's if they're not making big changes publicly, you think that there's nothing going on the backside, but the 16 computer is now slightly different than the 15, but it's the same computer. In a similar car. So, the car that we sent on the dyno today, I had to do some kind of trickery stuff to get around things that we had figured out in 15. So, but we're just used to that process.
Yeah, because usually it seems like the software lags behind a little bit. So if you're working on the new stuff all the time, it's got to be a little touchy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing you do when a new model comes in is I go right into the controller and we try to read it, make sure we have what we need, and if we don't have what we need, we try to get a hold of our software guys, which have been really good to work with, to give us what we do need. Otherwise we're sitting duck. I can't go in and start tearing apart an engine and making all these kind of airflow modifications physically, and then not be able to complement it with the electronics. And we had that nightmare with the Ford GT500 back in 12 when Ford redid their processor and. Guys are coming and wanting Whipples and all kinds of stuff in their cars, and we're like, we had no control. It was a nightmare. So, wow. But we're doing all right.
Got a lot of
the good thing is coming off of a car like the Z06, the CTSV is it's the same devil under a different pair of clothing. So it's we already know the LT4 engine, we know the supercharger, and we already kind of know our way around. So we're going to make much quicker strides with the car.
Now, does that have that particular car of the 8-speed trans or no?
Yeah, the 8-speed. That's the 8L90E, which is pretty amazing tranny.
Yeah, see, that's going to be part of the focus of talking about my 2001. I know we can't put that trans in because then you're looking for a whole different controller. I mean, it's a whole different animal. But let me ask you a question before we get into anything with my thing. In C6 Corvettes, what did they have for transmissions from the factory? Up till when?
The C6 started out with a 4L60 in the beginning, and then I think around 7 or 8, I can't remember, they went to the 6L80, 6-speed automatic. And then, of course, there was the stick.
Okay. How is the 6L80 for usability? I mean, do they hold up? I mean, because actually we have a couple listeners here. One guy, Jeff, he has, what is it? Just an SS. He always gets mad at me because I say Impala SS, and he's like, no.
Not.
But that has that particular trans. Are they somewhat durable, or is it something that you don't even think about?
No, I mean, you have to contend with it. I mean, it's been stuffed in so many, they built 500,000 Gen 5 Camaros, and if it came with an automatic, it had a 6L80 in it, I mean, the G8 had a 6L80 in it. There was a lot of vehicles that sported that tranny. I think that tranny's biggest nemesis was the people that had the laptop trying to control it. It's not a hard tranny to dissolve through bits of information. It's not It's not nearly as strong as the 6L90 that came in the Cadillac and CTSV and the trucks, but it also could tolerate some decent power if it was calibrated properly, and that's where guys would just blow chow on it. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that a 6L80 per GM had a rating of about 540 foot-pounds of torque, okay? And then the 6L90 had a rating of like 705, just to give you a comparison of the difference. And, you know, we've run 1,000 horsepower through those 6L90s, you know, with pretty decent luck. So that being said, with a rating of 700, you know, 750 wheel or so through the 6L80, it's still okay if it's calibrated properly and you keep it cool.
Yeah, and you're probably not worried about dead hooking it every 15 minutes either. I mean, you're going to put a couple passes on this thing and do highway pulls.
Yeah, but this leads to the next, what some of the research and some of the stuff that I had read, they kind of rated the 6L80 in the same category as the 4L80 as far as what they would handle. Now, I don't know if that's really the case. I started to look it up and I got sidetracked by something on YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember specifically.
Ended up looking at Taylor Swift videos. So.
No, it wasn't that bad. No, I got into that university that I was talking to Tad about, and Jeff did it. They have all kinds of transmission demos, and I was watching like 8-speed, like A's and transes, like how they shift, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But now what I have read is that it looks like, specifically from HP tuners, they call the transmission control parameters a segment, and that you could move the segment from computer to computer within a certain range. Is that something that's even viable, or is a 6L80 not worth it due to its plug-in ability? I don't mean plug-in ability with the car, but I mean a lot of shit you could buy to put it in my car real easy. I mean, if you say, look, you got to go to a 4L80, stop fucking around, I hear you.
You got to go to a 4L80, stop fucking around.
Okay, there you go. Good enough.
But let me explain to you why. Because the 6L transes, the 6 speeds, those are a completely different controller logic than what we dealt with the 4 speeds, and completely different computer. They were torque-based control systems, meaning that they knew how much torque the engine was making. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it knew how to make the shift and where to put pressure. Okay. And so, I mean, you're talking apples and oranges. I mean, could it be done? Yeah, but it's just not worth it, especially if you're going to put any power to it. And I don't know who told you that the 6L80 is stronger than a 4L80, but that's a bunch of hogwash.
It might have been something like Wikipedia, like explaining the numbering sequence of GM. It was something like that. Tom will attest to this. I'm very good at reading shit and not being able to remember where I saw it. But I almost think that I remember that it was like explaining how the designation of the transmissions are broken down. Like 6L80 means this. And it got back into the
segment thing you're talking about. We were always able to take a car that came with a 4L60.
Yeah.
And we could put a 4L80 in it. And we did something what's called a segment swap.
Yep.
But that was back when the earlier controllers housed the tranny function and the engine function in one. Okay. That's when it was a PCM. Now they have an ECM and a TCM. They're completely separate controllers. They have to talk to each other. Oh. So you can't. The segment swap thing is not something that's, you know, you're mixing up different genres of the development of GM stuff. So you know, once you get into the 6 speeds, that uses what's called the T43 controller, and if you have your car, your one controller runs the engine and transmission in one controller.
Okay.
And that one we could do a segment swap to go to an 80 and still run it with the factory controls.
Okay. Then reference your previous statement. Stop fucking around. That's what you need.
Well, that's why we have
Howard on. Well, I mean, I think part of this conversation is also going to lead into power. And if you want to make any significant power, then you got to go with the train. It's going to take it anyway. So that wipes out the last 5 minutes of conversation.
Right. Right. So, I mean, this is, in the end, like, again, that's why I brought it up, because I know you have so much exposure to the newer stuff. And, you know, does it just like letting your fingers do the walking on the internet, you find these things like talking about the 6L80 trans. And I was like, did that come in a Corvette? And I looked down, it's like, yeah, it's in a Corvette. I'm like, And I was like, I remember reading about, so this is how you get all crossed up. You read about segment swaps and HP tuners, like,
Right, right.
I got a Corvette. But yeah, now after somebody with like Howard's experience tells you, well, yeah, you know, you could do that in certain places, but you can't do it here because you're fucked up.
Right.
So I got it.
Well, during this build, Howard, you've pretty much told us on the last episode that we lost, but Mike wants a supercar out of his Corvette, and being impressed with the one you have in the 7s, he wants a supercar that can go in the 8s and still give him all of this supercar aspect that he wants. So let's start talking about, what do you want out of this 2001 Corvette?
I want it to stop like it does. I want it to turn like it does. I want, and you know, I was going to say I like the radio in it. I don't like the radio in it. It's actually got a cassette deck.
Yeah, that's shit.
You know, so I mean, it
You want it to be yellow?
it is yellow.
Oh,
I mean,
it's yellow already.
but it's a factory,
My
you
bad.
know, nice car. Like the last thing I want is a kid's car that like you're dicking around trying to get it started, or, you know, you step on the throttle when you're pulling out of the driveway and it's coughs because it's too cold. You know, I want the mannerisms of a factory Corvette with just a whole shitload more power. And, you know, somebody like Howard might be able to say, hey, look, with, you know, a twin turbo system, you can reach this level and still have it very nice to drive.
Well, you know he's on the phone. Why don't you just ask him?
I was prefacing it for the listeners.
That
I was
wasn't-
waiting for him to jump in.
The listeners were going, man, is Mike going to shut the fuck up ever?
Says the guy wearing a scarf. I'll twist that thing right around your neck.
All right.
So, Howard, what can
Wait a minute. Who's wearing a scarf?
Tom?
Oh my God, I can't handle this.
Dude, it's 23 degrees here, man. You live in Hialeah, Florida.
Didn't he live in New York?
Yeah.
I know what it's like up there.
Didn't he live in New York?
He did.
Yeah.
Now he lives in Hialeah.
Was he wearing a scarf in New York? Probably not.
The Hialeah is
I don't think
the funny part of that.
I don't know what's. Listen, this whole power and speed thing is just like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, you got painted nails. You've
No paint on the nails.
You know, Nishad's going to show up for an interview.
But, Howard, before you tell Mike what you have planned, I do remember you telling us the story about the stand that you used to go to in New York when you lived in New York. So when you get done with Mike, the stand that you used to go to, where you used to hang out, where you guys used to hang out in New York?
Yeah, the car hangout?
The car hangout, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that. So I just want you to elaborate on that when you were in New York.
Well, we can, because
After you
Howard.
get done?
Well, Howard's originally from up here. In case, and you know, see, this is what's tough about doing an episode the second time, because your brain doesn't forget all the shit that happened the first time. So you're always kind of trying to backtrack. We've tried to do it a couple of times, and it's been tough.
Yeah, it's hard.
Thank God you two idiots have given us material with scarves and nail polish.
But I just remembered that just now. Like, I remember when Howard said he was.
Yep. Yeah. So he was originally from up here.
Yeah, it's only been listen. It's not that long forgotten. I'm breaking balls. It's funny, honestly, for the last few weeks, I've been trying to break my friend's balls up there in New York, but it's been 70, so it's been tough.
Yeah, right.
Finally, it's got cold, and I'm feeling good about it. But I mean, getting back to your car here, I mean, I know we've skimmed across this a few times in some other conversations, but I think the real and only effective way to make lots of power, make a car docile, efficient as one could be, is most certainly turbocharging. It's just definitely the superior way to have your cake and eat it too, and also manage the power. I mean, it's easy to sit here and pump out 1,000 horsepower cars all the time, but if you can't control the power, I mean, all you got is a dick extension, really. I mean, that's all it is. You're not going anywhere with this thing. So turbocharging also offers us the ability to control it. So I mean, that's definitely going to be on the menu.
What do you think about, say, a 440-inch, engine with what I was looking at, and you can tell me if this is wrong, but like a LS7, I guess, what do they call it, an LS7 X head? So it has the additional bolts?
Yeah. LSX head.
Yeah.
All right. So
Just call it a 6-bolt head,
okay.
because there's a lot of different ones.
Okay.
Right.
but I was looking, look, the easiest way that I always figured out some of the stuff was to look in a GM book. Kind of points you in the right direction, and then you can look at aftermarket solutions if you wanted to. I'm sure people have gotten the handle on this with me. I'm a big GM guy. I'd like, like we always used to laugh about harmonic balancers. Like everybody's like, got to have this one, got to have this one, got to have this one. Look, GM put a lot of time in their damper, and they work. You know, it's same thing with their distributors. Like everybody wanted to take a GM points distributor out. They never worked. And they went to a dual point, which was a disaster. You know, most people could make that stuff work if they knew what they were doing. So I'd like to stick with a GM head because of integrity. And I'm sure Tom can attest to that sometimes the factory quality is better.
Yep.
So that particular head, the LSX head, the 6-bolt head, and the one I saw was an LS7 6-bolt head, 440-inch motor. I read the piece in Engine Labs about you picking out the camshaft, so that made me feel pretty good. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about it. But overall, I mean, how much power you think it can make?
Well, I mean, I guess I have to start this conversation saying, how much power do you want to make? You know, I mean, you know, don't tell me 2,500, which is possible. It just is not going to, it really doesn't make any sense for what you're trying to do. I mean,
right.
You know, you got to put in people's heads sometimes, you know, a sanity check of what a car feels like with a certain amount of power. I mean, we get guys come in here all the time that, you know, walk in, they want to make 1,000 horsepower, and you take them for a ride in a car that's making high 600s at the wheel, and they're screaming like a girl. You know,
Yep.
They don't get it. You know, and all of a sudden you realize you just saved them about 20 grand. You saved their lives, and you most certainly saved their marriage from what they were going to get into. Only because in their mind they wanted to be in the 1,000 horsepower club, not realizing that this was like a, you know, it's a gun.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then what happens once we know the power demand, that then dictates what do we build this foundation with? I mean, you know, we use a lot of the LSX blocks, the 6-bolt blocks on cars that are making, you know, 1,000 plus, because it's been tough. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about, you know, block moving around. It's a good foundation, and of course you put the 6-bolt heads with it. But you know, a guy that only wants to make, you know, 800 wheel, you know, there's other options. So. Right. Really comes down to what is it you want to make.
Well, I mean, honestly, what I'd like to make is I'd like to make a street car that if I put a good tire on it, I should be able to go to the racetrack and get into the 8s. So, I mean, then we have an approximate weight of a vehicle based on a C5 Corvette. We have an approximate, you know, ET in mind, based on your experience and what kind of mile an hour you really need to get that car there, how hard they are to hook and how hard you could leave with a turbo car. It should give you, like, I think Tom always had in his mind that he thought we needed like 1,200 tire. I think that's what he thought.
No, I mean, we've got a customer down here that we did a C5 for, a 99 that we did with a 416 cubic inch motor, decent sized turbo, single turbo, and a 4L80, and he went 890 at 154 miles an hour with a 148 60 foot.
Okay. Okay.
And that car only made like 730 wheel.
Okay.
You know, you got to realize the automatic really lays the power down. You know what I mean? It's amazing. I mean, my Z06, if I go boot that car down the track on wastegate spring, which is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 pounds of boost, that thing will go, you know, 990 at 148 miles an hour all day long, and that's making like 600 wheel. Right. You know, so it's amazing how an automatic will put the power down. You don't need, I mean, 1,200 wheel. I mean, you're going to go like bottom 8s. You know, I mean,
but that might take away this streetability that he's talking about. Right?
Yeah, I don't remember the 1,200 wheel. I thought I said you had to make about 1,000 engine, you know, flywheel horsepower.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, it just came from somewhere in your head.
Maybe.
Well, let's shoot for 850-900 at the wheel.
And at 800 to 900 to the back tire, let's say 800. If he's got a guy that makes 7 and change, or, you know,
can you stop talking like an old guy?
What do you mean?
Just say wheel.
Wheel.
Say like 800 at the back tire.
Listen, dickhead.
I'm just telling you, you sound like a dork.
Well, let me explain something to you.
Listen.
My dyno always sat in a room. Okay, so we never talked about back tire stuff. So the back tire stuff to me is kind of fucking confusing.
He's saying it again.
Right, but it's
just say wheel.
Wheel.
To the wheel.
Thank you.
To the wheel.
That's all.
You happy?
Listen,
I'm
Mike,
happy.
That
Mike.
fucking scarf right around your neck.
Mike, let's shoot for 900.
I'm right here.
Rear wheel horsepower. I think that's a compromise because 1,200 rear wheel. I can't imagine.
Okay, well, I had the number wrong.
Right. Well, I'm just saying I can't imagine that what you're looking for with that streetability.
Right.
From the 1,200.
All right. Well,
kind of rough.
there's the question.
Let's go 9. Let's shoot for a number here.
If we were going to shoot for, say, between 8 and 900, can it be docile? Can it be drivable? Can it be nice?
I can do that with 1500. I mean, it's again, this is the beauty of turbocharging is you just let the turbochargers eat when they want to eat and don't eat when they don't want to eat, and because of that, you don't have to aggressive with a camshaft, which is a big part of drivability is in the camshaft, I don't know if you necessarily need a 440 cubic inch motor. I personally think that motors that are, that big with a lot of stroke and a lot of bore to them just kind of eat up motors a little bit.
Agreed.
Especially with the stroke gets big, and it's like there's no need for it.
I told you that.
What do you know?
Tom will attest to. Tom will attest to this too. I mean, a boost motor, ring control is a big deal, and when you're dropping that piston out of the bottom of the bore like that, you're just you're losing control. And you got oil consumption, which is part of drivability and life, and then piston scuff and all this other stuff. So,
dude, I told him all of this, Howard, and he's looking at me like I got a scarf on or something.
I believe when we talked about the RHS block, you thought that the way that their liners were more than okay.
Oh yeah, they are
for a 440.
Yeah, they are. There's no doubt the liners are long enough.
Okay,
but you still got a real short piston. You still got a short ring stack, and I told you that we didn't have to go that big.
What have I always said, dickhead? Whatever is comfortable, whatever we can build comfortably.
Blow. You wanted to build a bigger motor.
Listen, I'd make the thing 700 inches if I could.
Exactly.
In an LS package.
416 is fine. You can, Howard, can he not make 850 pretty easily with a 416?
Yeah, should be doable.
Or a 427?
Yeah, I mean, a 427 seems to be a good balanced mix because the bigger bore is better for the cylinder head. And it definitely helps out with stuff. So I think this program, 427 needs to be the badge on the side of the car.
Getting vetoed on my own car.
But then you'll have two versions of
matter of fact,
427.
Tom, grab his keys and
I'll just drive the car down there. We'll get it taken care of and bring it back up here, and he'll be done.
Yeah,
they're both dead. Neither one of them start. They're both in a garage stuck.
Yeah, true.
Two yellow pieces of shit. And there's a blue one in front of my building down there. My brother's, that's dead too.
Yeah, the Z06. Yep.
All right, so we're at a 427, and you think to be drivable and nice, 800 area, 850 area is fine. Perfect.
Yeah. What's the most power you've ever had in a car like that? What are you used to driving?
Probably, I guess, Nitrous Pete's Mustang.
Yeah.
Around 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, here's if you're worried about scaring me, or that ain't gonna happen. If you're worried about me not being able to drive it, that's not gonna happen.
No, he's been in fast stuff.
Yeah, I've been in fast stuff.
I mean, he drives a Nissan Leaf every day. So
yeah.
Is that who makes the Leaf? Did I get it right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think we should shoot for 900 rear wheel horsepower, and if it comes in 10, 11, we're good. Doesn't matter.
I don't think you're going to shoot for 900 and end up with this. Oh, look, surprise, 1100.
Howard might just do a little something and give you more than you asked for.
The other thing too is, so the car gets done and it runs on pump gas and it makes 825, 850, and then you feel like you want to be a knucklehead and really turn the boots up because you have a thing going on at Atco or Englishtown, and you put some race gas in it and make another 150 horsepower.
See, that was the other part that slipped away from the conversation from last time, because that was one of my requirements: pump fuel. And there were people saying, "Oh, 85, you could do amazing things." We don't have it up here. It's not here. Yeah. So a pump fuel, and so okay. No, that sounds like a decent game plan.
Yeah, and he could do 2 maps for you or whatever, and
a Sonic map so you can idle through and get your Diet Coke.
Oh God.
So I liked it better when you were quiet today.
So Howard, you pretty much have this whole situation in your head, right?
Yeah, we got it on the shelf right now.
All right, okay, because we just need to get the car to you.
It's interesting as a shop that lives in this stuff. It's a regular phone call that we respond to that, we've learned what the recipe is. And you can kind of tell talking to somebody, somewhere where you need to go with them, things you need to detune with them, and options that they need to look at. So, this is definitely not uncharted land by any means. It's something that we definitely have some authority on because we do it quite often, and we know what lives and what doesn't. We also don't want to see people waste money on things that they just don't need. You're not building a drag car, so it's the way it spends its life is a little bit different than a max effort car. So, it's a difference between a $15,000 billet block and a $5,000 dart block or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to use some smarts in it. But
Hey, Howard, let me ask you a question, because we got, our chat room's going a little bit crazy, and we got guys arguing with each other about turbo or supercharger. A motor like this, if it's big enough, it's got enough compression, and to make that kind of power, you don't need that big a set of turbochargers. I would imagine that this thing could be pretty sporty right from, down low. There's not going to be any kind of turbo lag problem with this thing, right? To make 850?
No, I mean, the definition of turbo lag means, oh my God, I picked the wrong turbo for the motor.
Right.
That's really what turbo lag is. Just a byproduct of poor engineering. Is all that is,
right.
And obviously, if a guy's building a max effort race car and it doesn't make power below 3,000, and therefore it would have lag, it really doesn't have lag because that's not where it was intended.
Right. He just puts it on the converter and lets it rip.
Yeah. So because you got to move that. I mean, obviously a turbo, if you get too far on the big side, it's all up around. If it's too small, it makes a lot of quick responsive boot, and then it dies up on top, and you got to find that balance. And that's something else we've got some experience with. And you do get to a point where you're going to hit a wall, and then you got to make a change. I mean, again, the turbos today are so well engineered, and the combinations of the compressor wheels and the turbine wheels are so various now that it's kind of hard to not, if you're smart with it, not come up with the right size turbo to fit the job.
Yeah, I figured that. But by the way, the guys they're all yelling at me now, like they're not arguing. I didn't mean you guys are arguing like you're going to be fighting with each other. It just seemed like you guys were talking about. Somebody said something about turbo lag. It went by too fast. But anyway, sorry guys that you got butt hurt so quick. Bunch of pussies.
Well, like the centrifugal blowers are interesting, but it seems like, and I'm not knocking the centrifugal blower guys, it seems like they can be a little bit problematic. Like I remember that as soon as we put synchronous belts on them, started breaking shit left and right. And my idea,
fucking Hester.
What do you say?
Said the man with the skull.
We put the synchronous belts on and just started breaking shit, and it was always gear change. Broke it because of sudden change of speed of the impeller. And I had talked about a Sprag before ETI even made one for the real stuff. So I mean, I'd like to, a supercharged side of things to me is neat, and they make a great street car. But I like and I'm sure you're probably going to agree, the adjustability of a turbocharger. I mean, it's kind of, a couple little tweaks. I mean, look at what they can do with a factory turbo car that comes off the factory. And then all of a sudden a guy does 2 minutes of work and the thing's in the tens.
Right.
Yeah, perfect examples. We had a customer a couple months ago buy a brand new Z28, and before it came in, we already had put together a package for him. We yanked the motor, and we did a rotating assembly in it, and we did a couple turbos on it. And this guy liked roll hitting it, and golly knows that the new Z28 is a little bit doggy at 455 wheel. And we set that thing up with one of those AMS 2000 boost controllers that we use a ton of, and we referenced it based on mile an hour. So no matter where this guy was on the road, we had curved the controller to put down exactly what it needed for power to handle the tire that was on it.
Wow.
So you want to talk about a fun car. I mean, this guy goes and hits this thing at 50, and maybe it puts down, 680 to the tire, and if the guy whacks it at 70, it puts down, 750 to the tire, and
that's pretty cool.
Power on.
That is pretty cool.
And again, this is something you're not going to do with a supercharger. It's going to be all in or not. So,
Gotcha.
And again, I'm not trying to dismay that superchargers are no good. They have their function, and when a guy wants a street car and he's talking, 800, 1,000 wheel, I mean, we're so far off from tire technology to put a 800 to the tire, in a street environment that you have to control it through power management.
Yeah,
which I can't do with a supercharger. So that's why it's a primal ingredient for when a guy says I want a badass street car and I don't want to die in it. Plus from a safety factor of the motor, I mean, we tie in, air fuel pressure. God forbid, a pump takes a shit or, something's going on with the car. If we set the electronics up right, I mean, it'll just dump all the boost out before you can do any damage. So
now, is that something that can be done in a factory computer, or is that with auxiliary controls?
No, I mean, the boost control function is it's its own mad scientist control anyway. I mean, that AMS 2000 is probably on 60-70% of the cars that run it like lights out up in Georgia. The 8th mile racer. They're all running Seb's controller in it. I mean, it's a smart piece.
Okay.
It's its own separate computer just to run the turbo system.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we talked about it last time, and we talked about it in the very beginning. 4L80E, stop fucking around. Understood. I mean, consider that done. Rear end side of things to handle this. I had questioned the Ford 9-inch rear thing, and you said, look, not needed with an automatic. You don't have to worry about it. Put money into a center section and you'll be fine with a Corvette center section. Is that still, are we on path with that?
Yeah, I mean, my Corvette, before we put the Power Glide and the 9-inch in it, I mean, I was singing that thing into the 840s at 172 miles an hour with a stock diff in it over and over and over again. I mean, it worked. And the C5 actually has some better options in the diff, so I don't know if I would go, for the few times you're going to go to Englishtown and run the car with a real sticky tire and try to leave hard, it's not worth the bullshit. I mean,
okay.
It's still an automatic, so.
Yeah, so just half shafts and, the beef up parts that are required to make it okay.
And this also goes, hand in hand with the conversation we get all the time about, oh, do I need axles? I mean, what are you doing with the car? I mean, if you want to go out there and roll hit this thing, it's nowhere near the loads that you get, like leaving off a trans brake at 4,000. You know what I mean? So,
okay, hypothetically, in case anybody from GM is listening, I know a guy who's got a yellow 427.
You know a guy?
I know a guy who's got a yellow 427 Corvette that drives it as hard as possible whenever it leaves the garage. I understand fully that, when you have that kind of power, you kind of can't drive something like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is I would be much like this guy. Not me, of course. I would never drive my car hard. If anybody from GM is listening, now we're in a motor trans clutch.
Hypothetically speaking.
Yes. I will be driving it hard. So, I mean, I am going to err towards the side of stronger componentry than it should work. Now, obviously, when you got a street tire on a street, you're not dead hooking. You're not beating the hell out of the thing. It's a lot harder to break shit. You want to break shit? Put a tire on it. I get it. So, but if you tell me, look, we've done, and I know like exactly what Howard said, I'm right there with him. I used to have 1 million people call up and be like, how much to do this? Yeah, what do you want? I need a motor for this. Okay, this, and this, and this. Okay, click, done. He's done this before.
Right.
So, I mean, everything that we're talking about, reliability for general street use, driving hard with a street tire, we'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, the thing that really kills, drivetrain parts is like wheel hop. A hard launch. Even a hard launch doesn't always kill something, because especially in an auto car with a good tire on it. It's like Tom said. I mean, if you watch our car run down the track, even with a 120 60 foot, I mean, yeah, it's leaving, but it's smooth.
Yeah.
And the reality is to go take this car down the road at 60 miles an hour and whack an automatic with a converter making 12, 13 pounds of boost, you're going to end up in the weeds anyway. So we're going to have to rely on some kind of, again, power management to knock some power out of it. So now you're not putting as much down to the tire. So you're less vulnerable for breakage. So this is a big picture. This is all about the implementation and the control functions that we have to monitor the power and let it out where it needs it.
And that's exactly why I'm talking to you, because I mean, for me, I could figure a lot of this shit out overdoing it 20 times, like screwing everything up and trying to figure out how to do the programming and breaking shit. But there's a time that you got to talk to the right people. And you came so highly recommended from Tom, I can't even tell you. I mean, it makes you wonder if you're the guy that sent him the scarf. It's he and then of course the piece with Hank Manley's car, that really helps cement my decision who's going to take care of all this.
When are we bringing it down there? Let's now's a good time. It's 20 degrees up here.
Yeah, just drive it down there and
trailer it down and
trailer it. Go drive it down and get one of the things that fly an airplane.
We can do that too. Yeah. Well,
we had the helicopter.
Yeah.
I got a guy. I have a guy that's up and down the East Coast like regularly. When the time comes, that goes basically from Albany down to here all the time. So we have a racket. We have a guy that gets vehicles all over the place.
Yeah, we could just fly down, hang out with Howard for a little while, and then go to the beach.
Where is he?
It's not
side
here.
East Coast.
East Coast. Okay.
Yeah.
Daytona near there or no?
No, way south.
We're way south of that.
All
Just above Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale? Yeah, Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Because like we're probably going to be going down there in February.
Just remember, well, if I don't go with you, just remember you got to check out Hialeah. That's where you got to be.
There's got to be some kind of little bit of joke to that.
There is.
Is that like a place where you would go with the scarf and you with the nail polish? Is that
No.
Okay.
It's a place
you for that.
It's a place where you go where you get shot at. Yeah.
Okay. Trying to think if there were any other. Tires. What kind of tire can I get in this thing without putting a stupid flare or anything on it if it's got the little tubs in it?
I thought we were going to mini tub it.
We are going to mini tub it, but I read, the problem is these fucking forums. You just get such a bunch of jerk offs.
You can't read for what?
Well, then
did we not go over this?
I understand this,
you
but
idiot.
But you have to, if you don't know anything, you go to the internet and look. I Googled or Wikipedia a fucking 4L80E trans versus a 6L80E, and they said they were same. He said they're not.
Wait, I have an idea.
Yeah,
Howard, can these things be mini tubbed?
Well, I know they.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Lingenfelter's got a nice little setup.
Okay, so why are you going on the
Will you
forum?
stop when
You're an idiot.
Because I want to know.
We got the right guy on the line.
That's why I'm asking if you'd shut your hole. So, could I put like the Z06 like for my 427 that size tire back there under the wheel well?
That's a pretty big ass tire. I mean, it might have to. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I mean, it's been so long since the C5. I can't remember what was getting stuff. I think it was like a 315, and the
right.
Z06 comes with a 325. It's probably close.
I think it's got a 335. See, that's why I was bringing this up, Tom, because people were saying, yes, you can get a 335. No, you can't. 315.
You call Lingenfelter and find out.
I think you can put a 335. That number sounds. But your Z06 came with a 325 on it because we were always putting 345s on them with a 13-inch rim in the back, which I think is going to be way too big for the car. But as far as tire, I mean, I don't know, we're kind of fans of Mickey Thompson tires ourselves, but
yeah.
There's any kind of drag radial. But again, it doesn't matter what tire you use. You still got to control the power. You know, we're back to that again.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Howard, let me give you a in-studio visual just now. Mike and Tom were giving each other the bird.
No, I think Mike was giving the bird, Tom was receiving because exactly because I know right where you were going, dickhead. You're like, what are you looking for? You could talk to him because it looked like it was right on the edge of what tire could you put on it.
Yeah, and you said you were going on forums to find out, and I said you're an idiot, and I was right, like usual.
Oh yeah,
you guys have there's way too much tension in that.
Way too much testosterone, even with the scarf.
No, we're good. I'm going to take the scarf off in a minute and punch Mike in
the throat. Let's go to the suspension question. I know we're not going to be using the factory leaf springs, so coilover kit, and we had talked. I had actually looked at all this stuff, but the tubular front end stuff, have they gotten any better on that? Like that it's not, like I think the question was it a drag only piece? Was it because I mean, that opens up a lot of real estate to make things easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we already know what we need to do. We can get everything by what's there, and I think you're getting into a part that definitely lends itself. The geometry of some of those tubular ones are really kind of set up to go forward in a straight line and not like, it's not that you couldn't drive. I mean, you can drive anything on the street. I love the guys who are like, oh, is that street legal? It's like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
But, I think you're better off leaving with the stock cradle on there, coilovers on it, because, part of the equation here, we've spent all this time talking about the engine and the power, control function, but, like you said you want a handle and you want it to ride good. So, now we got to shift to the suspension.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, the coilover stuff, it looks like that's where everybody goes, which to me was a little strange. And I mean, I understand it, but
why?
Well, because those cars, they weren't made to be held up by the shock mount. They were made to be held up by the leaf spring.
I know, but it's a frame point. What's the difference?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I don't, again, looked at the car from underneath a bunch of times, wondering where stuff would fit.
The people on the forums just don't understand it, Howard.
That would be a jab.
I mean, any true performance car out there that road race and stuff, they're all running an independent, coil adjustable setup. I mean, it gives you that flexibility. And I'll tell you, it was years ago. We did a tech article with Vet Magazine where we put coilovers on the Z06 that you guys see me run on the track now. Mm-hmm. And the car had twin turbos on. It made about 950 wheel, stick car. And I was so impressed on how that car would lay power down on the street when we switched over to coilovers versus a transverse leaf spring.
Okay.
It was actually a turning point for me, not to start giving more credit to the chassis instead of just pumping all this power through the car. So, it gave the car some stability, and just the way it transferred power, it really, the car stuck better. It was pretty cool.
All right, particular brand you're partial to?
Well, we've gone the gamut with a few companies, and to be honest with you, like, we have our 16 Camaro here right now, and we just built our own custom coilover setup on the car. Mm-hmm. It's pretty badass.
Yeah.
We got kind of fed up with different things, and but there's obviously a number of options. I mean, the C5 has been, you're 2 generations back already in cars, so anything that's been out there and done has been done and figured out there. So,
right. Well, because all the circle track stuff, I mean, shock manufacturers out the ass, I know we can get anything we need made, and, damping, whatever. I'd like to use the adjustable stuff. And I know we had used a lot of Bilstein stuff. I don't know how their coilover kits are, but I don't know. We'll look into that. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, anything that we're going to do will be adjustable. I mean, that's the reason why we're going through this, is to have that adjustability. I mean, just to bolt on a set of coilovers is you might as well leave the transverse leaf and a shock in there. So,
yeah.
Really comes down to, do you want single adjustable, double adjustable? I mean, you can go in pricing and almost double pricing sometimes on coilovers, but if you're not going around road Atlanta, then you don't really need the big one. You know what I mean?
Right.
For a street car. So.
All right. What other tidbits do we need to complete this thing?
Nothing. One of the listeners just wanted us to ask Howard if he could make the new Camaro look any better.
If what?
If you could make the new Camaro look any better, because I and a lot of people think it's ugly, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, GM has a pretty good history of just blowing the looks of stuff. I mean, I like the front end dead on. I mean, we've had ours on the rack, so we've been really picking it apart at eye level.
Yep.
I think the back of the car looks like a Mustang, and and of course, sides of these cars just lose it because of all the side impact stuff. I mean, they struggle, but I just feel like they're so freaking lazy with their designs. They're just something's not right with that company. I mean, it's always been like that,
Yep, agreed.
I mean, the new Mustang, to me, I love that car.
Me too. I've been talking about that for weeks now. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And never mind that we're GM guys. I mean, I think the car is every time I see one, I want to, I take a double take and look at it with the lights and everything else. But it is what it is. I mean, I can't turn the cheek on it. And
no.
The one thing about Camaro people, the Camaro people are way, way, way more loyalists than I think the Corvette guy is, to be honest with you. We've seen this.
I think so too.
They hang in there through all the abuse, and even though the car may not be the punch that we thought, they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
And the new car is amazing. I mean, it's the interior in it. I mean, it's we brought ours to the track. We went, 1240s with it. We just rolled it off we drove up there. We rolled to the starting line. No burnout. Didn't turn off traction control. AC on. I just whacked it and I went 1240. That's pretty good.
See, man, that's it's actually discouraging that things have gotten that fast, just from the factory. I mean, it's good, but I look at, a few years back, I bought a 427 Corvette. It's a pretty good unit. Forget it. Overnight things regular Corvettes got faster. It's just, I don't know. It just sucks. I guess you never win.
Howard, you know a guy named, a couple, Deb and Doug Schultz?
Yeah, very well.
Okay, they just shouted out to you. They're in our chat room too.
And
awesome. They're awesome. They were from Wisconsin. They bought one of our HTR 427 cars, black, gold stripe, gold interior, and they've been very supportive of the program we had in New York. I know they bring the car to a lot of shows and stuff, and they have a good time with it. Good couple.
Yeah, good. That's cool. Yeah, they're listening. They want to shout out to you.
I actually have a guy who was on hold who would like to ask a question. He asked me to ask, but let me see if I can bring him in here. Hold on. Frank, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Frank, you're on with Howard. Ask him what you were asking me in the chat room.
Hey, Howard, it's Frank, SLP, buddy. How are you?
Hey, Frank, what's up, buddy?
What's happening, man? I just I'm in Jersey here, man, just chilling out. Got your email on the podcast. Just thought I'd join. Really great stuff, guys, man. Really, really entertaining the last couple minutes here I've been on, but I was just, kind of checking back with you, see how you thought of the new DI motor on the Camaro and where you're heading with that, and what do you think so far? You had it for a couple of weeks now, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to preference it, I mean, Frank's been in this squirrel's nest. We've got a pretty good relationship. We just saw each other at SEMA and PRI, and when he comes down there, Frank's been working with SLP for quite some time, and big part of their sales and marketing and stuff. So it's cool that you got on the phone. I forgot you guys are all up in the same neck of the woods up there. So, but as far as the Camaro, I mean, it really is just another clone of the C7. It isn't like the motor's something miraculous, and that's the thing with GM. Everything is just like it's the same cardboard box and the same padding inside. They just change the wrapper sometimes. So, I think, again, like I had mentioned, these guys, I mean, we were due for another Camaro. I think the last couple of years of Camaro sales were getting flat, and I did find out they made 500,000 Camaros for the Gen 5, though. That's a lot of freaking cars. And the new one is just, I mean, you get in that thing and just the interior and the electronics and the radio and the new 8-speed in it. I mean, it's about $8 or $9 grand more than what a 5th gen was back when they came out. So I think the demographic of customers is going to move up a little bit, but that's not a bad thing either. But, yeah, we've got ours under some surgery right now. You'll probably hear about that in the next couple of weeks when we hit the track with it. We're in it to win it.
So overall, Howard, you like the new Camaro? I mean, everybody, Tom breaks my balls about looks or whatever, and I honestly haven't looked at it that seriously. But I mean, nice car overall, like features and how it works, and just as a vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, when you get in it, it's like, again, coming from like our C7 and stuff, which was a huge interior, upgrade from what Corvette had prior. I mean, they carried all that into the Camaro. So I mean, we got ours with a red and black interior. I mean, it's racy and all the digital dash and the air conditioned seats and all that luxury that was coming in some of the higher dollar cars is now in the car. And I got to tell you, again, I could say this. I mean, I'm used to driving stuff with a lot of power. It's a really zippy, fun car. I mean, it really rolls out pretty good for what it is. Like I said, to click off a 1240, with a stock tire and just out in the heat like that. I mean, what more can you ask for a car like that? The pony car.
Yeah, no doubt.
I like it.
All right.
Like you said, the styling. I mean, yeah, there's some things that we're changing. We've got an aero package we're putting together and some things to try to make it look more aggressive. And then hopefully next year when the ZL1 comes out, they throw in a little bit of what they did to the Z28 and kind of widen it and make it look a little sexier, because the Z28 is pretty cool looking. I like that car.
All right. Well, Frank, anything else for Howard? You guys know each other, so it's.
No, I just I dig the show and I just look forward to some more changes. Of the Chevy stuff coming out and CTSV especially. Like you said, it's $100,000 GM product, and just glad to see that direction. Trying to stay up with the other makes and models. So.
Now, if they'd only make a diesel SUV, I'd be happy. That's all I'm waiting for.
Well, they've been rumoring that for a while, like a Tahoe kind of something with a Duramax, right? Know what you're talking about?
Yep, I've been holding on to my Excursion, fixing everything.
They killed that again this year. They made it a fleet-only deal.
I know, with the 3/4 ton, but they still didn't put a diesel on it. I don't know what the hell, God, irritated. All right, Frank.
When are you coming back down for a road trip? Remember, we got to go hit the zoo up in Palm Beach and go harass the animals. Remember?
Yeah,
we do need to do that. I guess my next trip will be West Palm. I've been out to the West Coast 3 times in the last month, and I'm heading back out there now. So probably West Palm Beach for Barrett. Try to get down and see you.
Yeah,
all right.
That's not till March. So all right.
Well, thanks for calling, Frank. We appreciate it. I'm glad you liked the show, and we'll keep trying to make it better every week.
Like us on Facebook.
Thanks for calling.
All right, see you, buddy.
That's cool. Frank's good people.
Yeah, and SLP. That's not an unknown name by any means.
No, you know what's funny? I've known Frank for actually quite a few years, but when I first knew him, I didn't really know him as on a friend level. I remember sitting at Denoyer Chevrolet's dealership up in Albany when we were building those 427 Camaros, and we'd be sitting in the Denoyer's office, and there'd be 2 Redline cars on the showroom floor, my orange one parked out front, and Frank would come rolling in with the SLP Camaro, you know, trying to drum up the business. And sometimes I felt a little funny because we had Redline HDR cars all the way around the dealership. You know, I at the same time, I think it built some respect that we're still in the business, we're still doing that stuff. And then, you know, we've done some stuff with SLP. I think they're trying to make a little bit of a comeback. I don't know if you know that Roush bought them a couple of years ago, so they're trying to, you know, turn a corner and try to be a little more innovative. I think they lost some steam for a little bit, but they're working on it, you know. But Frank's been there for a while. He's a trooper with them.
All right. Well, and that was it was really nice that he called in, so it's good. All right. Well, I guess look, the only thing left to do is.
So that just proved that people actually do listen to this show.
Oh, I got to tell you, it's really. I mean, none of us sitting here ever thought that we would have the reach that we have. I mean, you know, I'll share it at times. There's 20,000 downloads of an episode quick. I mean, it's kind of, and you know, you say, well, 20,000 as far as the world population goes, it kind of sucks. But
we're even famous in Utah now.
Yeah, and Utah has actually picked up.
Good.
Maine has dropped off. I guess they just don't bother anymore.
No,
I guess. But it's it's pretty amazing. There's and you know, worldwide too. A lot of people from Australia. I mean, I know they're all car nuts.
they are. Good bunch of blokes down there.
Blokes?
Yeah.
Thought that was English.
What they call
No.
it.
All right. Well, I don't know anything. All right. Well, I guess the only thing left to do is
Bring the car down there.
yeah, bring the car down there with some money.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, one of the things that we're big advocates of is, like, you know, I know we've kind of skimmed across this and took a bunch of crayons and, you know, wrote all over the wall, but, you know, when we get a little closer to it, you know, we'd like to put this all on paper, kind of define it, break it all down. You know, we kind of know what this costs, you know what I mean? We kind of know what we're up against. It's not one of these things like, well, you know, drop it off and just, you know, keep sending us money. I mean, we're kind of goal orientated. So, you know, when you're getting closer, we'll break off this radio podcast here, and we can go back and forth and come up with it, and that way you know what we're up against.
Sure, absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, like, you know, again, I can't stress enough. Thank you, and you know, coming recommended from Tom is always a good thing because he sees everybody. You know, he goes all over.
Appreciate that.
There's even been a couple people that I'm not going to talk about now, but over the years, there's actually been quite a few people. See, Tom, you know about this guy? He's like, oh, no. You know, I mean, he's pretty quick to tell you.
Howard, when I go down there, I got to tell you about a guy that Mike thought about for like 3 seconds. And I just recently sent him an old business card of this guy. You know who it is. We'll talk. You and I'll talk about it. It's actually funny. I got a picture of his old business card. It's hilarious.
Always good to have a little hatred.
Yeah.
Well, Howard, thanks for calling, man. You're always informative, and you have me going. I might want a Corvette one day.
Oh boy.
And I'm a Camaro man, you know.
Not that no one know. I agree with Tom. Don't really like it. I like the Mustang better.
Yeah.
You got a Mustang? Why don't you buy a new Mustang? They're nice.
The Mustangs look good, and the what is that? The Challenger.
Yeah, the Challenger.
They really took the
Well,
retro.
you know what?
They took the retro look.
We'll check in a couple of weeks after some stunts we're going to pull with this new Cadillac and the new Camaro in the next, you know, couple of weeks here. Which is the benefits of being down in South Florida this time of year. You know, we're not dealing with that weather, so we can go out there and kind of execute stuff, and we'll revisit direct injection and you know where you can go with these cars. You know? So,
Cool.
That'd be great.
Gotcha.
yeah, and I always appreciate the opportunity. I love when Tom sends me a last minute like, "Hey, Jan," and it's like, yeah, you know, I enjoy talking to you guys. We obviously like the industry and the business, and you know, it's fun to pass on some knowledge and learn some stuff.
Well,
so.
do yourself a favor. Not that you probably have to at this point, but give yourself a nice shameless plug. Like, how can people find you? How can they contact you? You know, if they've got anything they need done.
Well, we're really not too hard to find. We've been kind of saturating the electronic ways pretty good. I mean, you know, redline-motorsports.net is our website. We're pretty busy with social media, with Instagram, our YouTube page. We do a ton of videos internally here. And, you know, we do quite a bit with some of the media, with, you know, Vet Magazine, some of the Camaro magazines, and Super Chevy. So, you know, we're just enjoying that integration. I think if anybody goes to Google and just types in Redline Motorsports, they're going to find us on top. And obviously our focus is late model GM performance stuff that lives, and try to give people an honest shake on the value of what this work is and deliver. You know, I guess we're not for everybody. I mean, you know, if a guy's looking for the rock bottom number, that's what you're going to get, because we don't really shortcut anything.
And not for nothing, that ain't the customer you want either, because that never works out good.
Yeah. No, I mean, if I've learned anything in life, it's to tell people no and try to let them down easy and say, hey, this isn't a good fit for us. And sometimes they go away kicking and screaming, and they're usually the ones that want to start shit with you because they got rejected. But I'd rather stay home and watch Oprah. You know?
Hey, do me one favor before we go. After we go, actually, tell Roy and Nishad I said hello. They're probably together tonight, right? Are they together tonight?
Just get him his rotating assembly already, will you?
Yeah, got it.
All right, Howard. Well, thanks. We'll talk more, and we'll figure out where to go next. That's it.
Sounds good. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
All right, bro.
See ya.
Bye.
He's a really good guest.
Yeah.
I know. It's great.
Energetic, engaging.
I know.
Knows other people that call in.
Yeah. I mean, why are your headphones falling off, Tad? They're like rotating forward on you. Next thing you're going to be on your nose.
You know, this is a little off-topic thing, but I'm going to find out what kind of scarf McDreamy wears so you can get that from Mike.
Lord. Where's the outro?
Yeah, we can. You know, you guys can fuck with me all you want, but I do watch Grey's Anatomy. I really don't care. I do. I watch it. I'm not wearing a scarf. I ain't getting my nails
Not yet.
polished, but I will watch Grey's Anatomy.
All right.
All right. Well, that was really good with Howard. Really covered over the same stuff we had before, but now at least we got an idea where we're going.
Now everybody can hear it.
We captured it this time.
Yeah, we captured it this time. So, all right. Well, thanks. We'll be back next week, Monday night. See ya.
Later.
Later.
No, he said it's a Subaru scarf.